AITA for not wanting to attend a family gathering because my uncle always makes inappropriate jokes. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. My family has always been a big part of my life. We are a close-knit family, and we always make sure to celebrate special occasions together. However, there is one family member who always ruins the gatherings with his inappropriate jokes, my uncle. I don't know how to handle the situation anymore, and I'm not sure if I'm the one being unreasonable. That's why I'm turning to the AITA community for advice. My uncle is in his late 50s and has always been the funny guy in the family. However, his sense of humor has become increasingly inappropriate over the years. Every family gathering turns into a cringe fest because of his jokes. It's not just me who feels this way, I have spoken to other family members who are uncomfortable with his behavior as well. It all started when I was a teenager. My uncle made a sexist joke, and I called him out on it. He laughed it off and told me I was too young to understand his humor. I let it slide, thinking it was just a one-time thing. However, over the years, his jokes have only gotten worse. He makes racist, sexist, and homophobic comments that make me and other family members uncomfortable. I have tried to talk to my uncle about his behavior, but he always brushes it off. He tells me that I'm too sensitive and that is just joking around. I have tried to explain to him that his jokes are hurtful and not funny, but he doesn't seem to care. The breaking point for me came a few months ago when we had a family gathering for my cousin's graduation. My uncle made a joke about my cousin's weight in front of everyone. My cousin was visibly upset, and I could tell that other family members were uncomfortable as well. I couldn't take it anymore, so I confronted my uncle. I told him that his behavior was unacceptable and that he needed to stop. He laughed it off and said that I was overreacting. After that incident, I made the decision to avoid family gatherings where my uncle would be present. I don't want to subject myself to his inappropriate behavior anymore. And I don't want to put myself in a position where I have to confront him again. However, my family has started to notice my absence from gatherings. And they have been questioning why I'm not attending. I have been making up excuses, but I know that I can't keep avoiding family gatherings forever. I'm torn between wanting to spend time with my family and not wanting to subject myself to my uncle's inappropriate jokes. It all came to a head when my grandmother's 80th birthday was coming up. My grandmother is the heart and soul of our family. And we wanted to make sure that her birthday was special. My aunt, who is my uncle's sister, called me to invite me to the birthday party. I hesitated, knowing that my uncle would be there. But I didn't want to miss out on celebrating my grandmother's special day. I arrived at the party, and it was a typical family gathering. Everyone was catching up and having a good time. However, as soon as my uncle arrived, the atmosphere changed. He started making inappropriate jokes, and I could feel the tension in the room. I tried to ignore him, but it was impossible. Every time he said something offensive, I could feel my blood boiling. I decided to take a break from the party and went outside to get some fresh air. I was standing on the porch when my aunt came out to check on me. She asked me if everything was okay. I took a deep breath and told my aunt that I was struggling to be at the party with my uncle's behavior. My aunt listened intently and acknowledged my feelings. But she also urged me to try and work things out with my uncle. I know it's not easy, but he's still family, she said. Maybe you two can talk it out and come to some kind of understanding. I appreciated my aunt's words, but I was skeptical. I had tried talking to my uncle before, and it hadn't gone well. However, I knew that I couldn't keep avoiding family gatherings forever. I decided to take a chance and try talking to my uncle one more time. I found my uncle in the living room, surrounded by a group of family members. He was telling a joke, and everyone was laughing except for me. I took a deep breath and tapped him on the shoulder. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" I asked. My uncle looked surprised but nodded and followed me into the kitchen. I could feel the tension in the air as we stood facing each other. "What's up?" he asked. "I want to talk to you about your jokes," I said. "I know you think they're funny, but they're not. They're hurtful and offensive, and they make me and other family members uncomfortable." My uncle rolled his eyes. "Here we go again," he muttered. "This is serious," I said. "You can't keep making these kinds of jokes. They're not appropriate." My uncle scoffed. "Oh, lighten up," he said. "It's just a joke. You're too sensitive." I felt my anger rising. "I'm not too sensitive," I said. "Your jokes are hurtful and disrespectful, and I'm tired of pretending like it's okay. You need to stop." My uncle's face turned red, and I could tell he was getting angry. "I'm not going to change who I am just because you don't like my sense of humor," he said. "If you don't like it, that's your problem." I felt a surge of frustration. "No, it's not just my problem," I said. "Other family members feel the same way. You're not just offending me, you're offending other people too. It's not funny, it's disrespectful." My uncle shook his head. "I can't believe you're making such a big deal out of this," he said. "It's not like I'm hurting anyone. You are hurting people," I said. "Your words have power, and they can be hurtful. You need to take responsibility for that." My uncle looked at me for a long moment, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. Finally, he let out a sigh. "Fine," he said. "I'll try to tone it down. But you need to understand that this is who I am. I'm not going to change overnight." I nodded, relieved that he was at least willing to listen. "I understand," I said. "But please, try to be more mindful of what you say. It's not just about you, it's about how your words affect other people." My uncle nodded, and we stood there in silence for a few moments. I could feel the tension easing, and I was grateful for the chance to have this conversation. We weren't best friends, but we were family, and that meant something. As we walked back into the living room, I could feel a sense of relief wash over me. I didn't know if things would be perfect from now on, but at least we had opened up a dialogue. I was determined to keep working on our relationship, and hopefully, things would improve over time. The rest of the party went surprisingly well. My uncle made a few jokes, but they were milder than usual, and I could tell he was making an effort to be more considerate. I felt a sense of relief that we had addressed the issue, and that we could all move forward in a positive way. However, as the party was winding down, my uncle pulled me aside for another conversation. I could tell he was nervous, and he seemed to be struggling to find the right words. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry," he said finally. "I know I've said things in the past that were hurtful, and I didn't realize how much it was affecting people. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused." I was surprised, and I could feel a lump forming in my throat. It was rare for my uncle to admit when he was wrong, and I could tell he was sincere. "I appreciate that," I said. "Thank you." My uncle nodded, and we stood there in silence for a moment. I could feel a sense of awkwardness, as if we were both struggling to find our footing. There was a lot of history between us, and I knew that one conversation wasn't going to fix everything. As we walked back into the living room, I could sense that something had shifted between us. We weren't best friends, but we were making progress. We were family, and that meant something. As I left the party and drove home, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I had been dreading the gathering, but it had turned out better than I expected. My uncle had apologized, and we had opened up a dialogue. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was a start. However, as I walked into my apartment, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. I had faced my fears and confronted my uncle, but I wasn't sure if I had done the right thing. Was I being too hard on him? Should I have been more forgiving? That's why I'm turning to the AITA community for advice. Was I in the wrong for avoiding family gatherings because of my uncle's behavior? Did I handle the situation correctly by confronting him, or should I have been more understanding? I'm torn between wanting to protect myself and wanting to be part of my family. I don't know what to do next. So, AITA for not wanting to attend family gatherings because of my uncle's behavior. And for confronting him about it.